Imagine you are sitting across from someone you love, yet somehow, you both feel distant. Words are spoken, but understanding feels far away. You're doing your best, giving your time, your energy, your heart, but something still feels unsettled. Maybe you've been here before. Maybe you're here now. Have you ever wondered why relationships that start with so much warmth and promise slowly become heavy, filled with silence or stress? Do you ever ask yourself, why do we hurt the ones we love the most? Or why can't love be simple anymore? In a world full of noise, fast-paced living, and emotional confusion, how do we keep our hearts open and peaceful? Maybe you're holding on too tightly. Maybe you're giving too much or too little. Maybe you're simply tired. All around us, people are struggling to stay connected with their partners, their families, their friends, and even themselves. Let's take a simple example. Think of a plant. If we water it too much, it drowns. If we forget to water it, it dries up. Relationships are like that. They need care, but not control. They need attention, but not obsession. Just like a plant grows in balance, love too grows when given space and gentle care. Welcome to Wisdom Woven, where we explore the timeless teachings of Buddhism and how they can guide us in the world of modern relationships. If you've ever felt confused, hurt, or lost in love, you're not alone. This series is for you. We'll walk together through lessons of compassion, balance, and inner calm, one step at a time. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of viewers actually subscribe. So please, take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts below, share it with someone who might need it, and most importantly, subscribe to Wisdom Woven. Your support helps us grow and reach more people seeking peace in their relationships. We truly love to hear your thoughts, so don't forget to drop a comment too. Buddhism teaches us that suffering in relationships doesn't come from others. It comes from within, from our expectations, attachments, and unspoken fears. And the beauty is, once we understand this, we can begin to change. This journey isn't about fixing others. It's about transforming ourselves. Buddhist wisdom doesn't offer quick tricks. It offers deep, gentle truths that can shift how we see love, connection, and ourselves. In the episodes ahead, we'll explore how ancient Buddhist teachings can bring peace to the most modern problems. From arguments to loneliness, from miscommunication to emotional burnout, we'll uncover tools that are simple, powerful, and calming. So, let's begin with a soft heart and an open mind. The road to better relationships starts here, not with changing others, but by understanding ourselves. Letting go with love, the power of non-attachment. Imagine you're holding a beautiful flower in your hand. It's delicate, full of color, fragrance, and life. You love this flower, and the thought of letting it go seems impossible. But if you hold it too tightly, its petals will wilt, its stem may break, and the flower will no longer be beautiful. Now, imagine this flower is a person or relationship. The more you hold on, the more it might hurt. What happens when you try to control everything? When you try to make someone or something stay just as it is, no matter what? The answer is simple. Things slip through your fingers, just like that flower. They wither, they break, they fade away. This is the lesson of non-attachment. It's not about not caring. It's not about being cold or distant. No, non-attachment is the opposite. It's about loving fully, without trying to own, control, or demand. It's about accepting the natural flow of life and relationships, letting go of expectations, and allowing things to evolve. It's the freedom to love without fear of loss. It's the peace that comes when we stop trying to make everything perfect, because we understand that nothing is permanent. Think of a time in your life when you tried too hard to hold on. Maybe it was a relationship that you believed had to stay the same. Maybe it was a job, a dream, or a place. You clung to it, hoping that by holding on tighter, you could preserve it. But over time, it either slipped away, or it changed in ways you didn't expect. The harder you held, the more it hurt. It's like trying to hold water in your hand. No matter how much you try, it will always slip through your fingers. In Buddhism, we are taught that everything is impermanent. People change. Feelings change. Circumstances change. And the more we try to resist change, the more we suffer. The Buddha said, the root of suffering is attachment. We cling to what we love because we're afraid of losing it. But this fear can cause pain, even when nothing is lost. The more tightly we grasp, the more we experience fear and anxiety. This is why letting go is not just a practice, but a key to freedom. Non-attachment is about understanding that while we can love deeply, we cannot control others. We can nurture relationships, but we cannot force them to be anything they are not. If we try to hold someone to our own vision of them, we are not loving them, we are holding them captive. When we let go, we give them room to grow. When we let go, we are free to love them as they are, not as we want them to be. Imagine a tree. The branches may bend with the wind, but they don't break. They bend because they are flexible. They allow the wind to pass through. If they were too rigid, they would snap. Our relationships are the same. They need flexibility. They need space. We need to allow people the freedom to be themselves. If we hold on too tightly, we suffocate the relationship. But if we allow things to unfold naturally, without forcing them, we let the relationship breathe. We let it grow stronger. But how can we practice this in our own lives, in the face of emotions that can sometimes feel too overwhelming to release? It starts with understanding that we are not in control of everything. We cannot control the actions of others, the events of the future, or even how long someone will remain in our lives. What we can control is how we respond. The key is to hold love lightly, with an open hand, not a clenched fist. When we love without attachment, we allow the person we love to exist as their true self. We stop asking them to be a version of themselves that fits our desires, and instead, we embrace who they are. Take a moment to reflect on your relationships. Are there anywhere you feel like you are holding on too tightly? Where you are trying to control the situation or the outcome? Letting go does not mean that we stop caring, but that we stop putting in effort. It simply means that we no longer try to force things. It means that we trust in the natural flow of things. It means we trust the person we love to be their true self, even if that sometimes means they need to change or move in a different direction. We trust that if something is meant to be, it will stay. If not, we let it go, knowing that our love remains, even as circumstances change. Letting go also means accepting that not everything is meant to last forever. This can be one of the hardest lessons to learn. We want to hold on to good things, to the people who make us happy, to the moments that feel perfect. But everything in life is temporary. The beauty of life lies in its impermanence. If we cling to things as if they are permanent, we miss the beauty of the moment. We forget to be present, to appreciate what we have while we have it. Think of a time when you were truly happy, not because things were perfect, but because you accepted things as they were. You didn't try to make them last forever. You didn't try to hold on to them tightly. You just enjoyed the moment, knowing that it was fleeting. That kind of peace, that kind of love, is the love that comes from non-attachment. It's not about holding on, but about being present with what is. This practice of letting go isn't about detachment and the sense of not caring. It's about being free to love without the chains of fear or control. It's about giving space to your loved ones to be who they are. It's about creating relationships that are not based on need, but on genuine connection. And it's about creating peace in your own heart, knowing that everything changes, and that's okay. The beauty of love comes not from holding on, but from letting go and trusting the process. Non-attachment is not a call to be passive or indifferent. It's a call to engage in life with an open heart, without expectations or demands. It's a way of being that allows us to love fully, deeply, and without fear. And it's a lesson that can transform not just our relationships, but our entire way of being in the world. By practicing non-attachment, we find peace, freedom, and the ability to love in ways that are genuine, lasting, and true. The next time you find yourself trying to hold on too tightly, remember the flower in your hand. Love it, care for it, but don't try to own it. Let it be what it is, and let it grow in its own way. In doing so, you will discover a love that is freer, deeper, and more peaceful than you ever imagined. The heart of understanding, cultivating compassion. In every relationship, there are moments when we feel misunderstood, disconnected, or even hurt. These moments are often difficult, and we tend to look outward, thinking it's the other person who is to blame. But what if the key to overcoming these challenges isn't about changing the other person at all? What if it's about changing how we respond, how we understand, and most importantly, how we cultivate compassion in our hearts? When we talk about compassion, it's easy to think of it as just feeling sorry for someone, or offering a kind word when someone is down. But true compassion runs much deeper than this. Compassion is about seeing the world through another's eyes, feeling their pain as if it were your own, and responding with kindness, patience, and understanding, not because you have to, but because you genuinely want to help ease their suffering. Think about a time when you've been in a disagreement or an argument with someone close to you. Perhaps you were both upset, emotions were running high, and the conversation quickly spiraled into frustration and hurt. In such moments, it's easy to lose sight of the person in front of you, and instead focus solely on winning the argument, proving your point, or protecting your own feelings. But if we can step back for a moment and pause, we realize something important. Our words and actions are shaped by our own suffering, our fears, and our insecurities. The other person, too, is acting from a place of their own pain and confusion. In Buddhism, it's taught that all beings suffer. This is part of the human condition. The Buddha called it dukkha, which is often translated as suffering, but it also refers to the unsatisfactory nature of life. No matter how much we try to control things, how much we strive for perfection, life has its moments of difficulty. So when someone we love or care about is upset or acting in a way that hurts us, it's essential to remember that they, too, are struggling with their own form of suffering. Compassion starts with recognizing this truth. It starts with acknowledging that everyone, including ourselves, is facing battles that we may not see or understand. Compassion is the ability to look beyond our own pain, beyond the surface of a disagreement, and to recognize the shared humanity that connects us all. It's the ability to respond with softness and care, even when we feel hurt, because we understand that the other person is, in their own way, just trying to navigate their own struggles. But how do we cultivate this kind of compassion, especially in the heat of an argument or when we feel our emotions rising? It starts with mindfulness. The more aware we are of our thoughts and emotions, the more we can pause before reacting. Instead of letting anger or frustration dictate our response, we can take a moment to breathe, ground ourselves, and remember that the person in front of us is not our enemy. They are a fellow traveler on this path of life, just like us. Compassion also involves a deep sense of patience. It's easy to get frustrated when we feel like the other person isn't understanding us or isn't responding the way we want. But we have to remind ourselves that change doesn't happen overnight. People don't suddenly become more compassionate just because we demand it. Compassion is a practice, one that requires us to be patient with ourselves and with others. It's about creating space for growth and healing, not just expecting immediate results. One of the most powerful ways to practice compassion is to start with ourselves. Often, we are our own harshest critics. We hold ourselves to impossible standards, judge ourselves too quickly, and condemn ourselves for every mistake. But if we want to truly cultivate compassion, we must first learn to be kind to ourselves. When we can offer ourselves compassion in times of struggle, we are better able to offer it to others. We can't pour from an empty cup, and so it's essential to fill our own hearts with love and understanding before we can share it with those around us. This doesn't mean we should tolerate harmful behavior or ignore our own needs. Compassion isn't about being a doormat or allowing ourselves to be mistreated. It's about recognizing the humanity in the other person, even when their actions are hurtful, and responding from a place of kindness and respect, rather than reacting out of anger or fear. As we deepen our practice of compassion, we begin to see the world differently. We realize that every person we encounter, every interaction we have, is an opportunity to practice kindness and understanding. We see beyond the surface-level frustrations, beyond the words and actions that may trigger us, and we begin to understand the deeper currents of pain and longing that drive those behaviors. Compassion opens our hearts and minds, allowing us to approach relationships with greater openness and love. It's important to remember that compassion isn't a one-time thing. It's not something we achieve and then move on from. Compassion is a continuous practice, a muscle that we must exercise every day. In every moment, we have the opportunity to choose how we respond, how we understand, and how we show up for the people in our lives. Sometimes, this will be easy. Other times, it will be incredibly difficult. But the beauty of compassion is that it's always available to us, waiting to be practiced, waiting to be shared. In relationships, compassion doesn't just mean offering comfort when things are tough. It also means celebrating the good moments, the times when love is flowing freely, and when we are both at our best. It means showing appreciation for the little things, the way our partner smiles when they see us, the way they hold our hand in silence, the way they listen without judgment. Compassion is about cherishing these moments and recognizing them for what they are, gifts of love and connection. When we bring compassion into our relationships, we create an environment of safety and trust. We show the people we care about that we are here, not to judge or criticize, but to support and understand. We build a space where both people can grow, heal, and thrive. Compassion transforms the energy between two people, turning conflicts into opportunities for deeper connection and understanding. As we continue to practice compassion, we may begin to notice a shift in our relationships. We may find that we argue less, that we listen more, and that we understand each other with more depth. We may begin to feel lighter, freer, and more at peace with those we love. Compassion is not a quick fix or a magic solution. It's a gradual process of transformation, one moment at a time. So, let's commit to cultivating compassion in our relationships. Let's begin by practicing it with ourselves, then extend it to those around us. And as we do, we'll discover a deep well of love and understanding that has the power to heal and strengthen every connection we have. Seasons of the soul, embracing impermanence in relationships. In the world around us, change is constant. Every moment, everything is shifting, whether we see it or not. Just think about the seasons. In spring, the earth is full of new life, blossoming with flowers and fresh beginnings. In summer, there's warmth, growth, and abundance. Autumn brings a change as leaves fall, and we prepare for the quiet of winter. And winter itself, silent and still, prepares the world for another cycle of growth. Our relationships, too, follow cycles. There are times when everything feels perfect, when connection flows easily and the love between two people seems boundless. But there are also times when it feels like everything is falling apart. The laughter fades, the silence grows, and the joy of togetherness slips away. During those moments, we feel as though something has gone wrong. We wonder where the love went. But in truth, nothing has gone wrong at all. It is simply the way of the world. Buddhism teaches us the principle of impermanence, or anicca. It means that everything is in a constant state of change. No feeling, no experience, and no relationship stays the same forever. This idea can be difficult for many of us to accept, especially when we want things to remain just as they are. We wish for our happiness to last forever and our pain to never come. But this is not how life works. Life moves, it flows, and it is always changing. At first, the idea of impermanence might seem unsettling. After all, don't we want stability in our relationships? Don't we long for the assurance that the love we share today will be the same love we feel tomorrow? But what if we could look at change differently? What if we could learn to embrace the ebb and flow of life as a natural rhythm, rather than something to fear? Think about the relationships in your life. Perhaps you've experienced times of deep connection, followed by moments of distance. There might have been moments when you felt completely in tune with someone, but over time, that harmony seemed to fade. This isn't a sign that something is wrong. It's simply the natural flow of life. Just as seasons change, so do the dynamics of our relationships. The key is to let go of the desire to control how things should be. We often hold on to a picture of what our relationship should look like, always loving, always happy, always secure. But when we hold too tightly to this image, we create suffering for ourselves. We resist the natural changes that are happening, and in doing so, we close ourselves off from the beauty of the present moment. Instead, we can learn to approach our relationships with an open heart, accepting that change is part of the journey. There will be times when love feels abundant and effortless, and there will be times when it feels distant and uncertain. Neither of these states is permanent. The beauty of love is that it grows and shifts, just like the seasons. When we embrace the idea of impermanence, we start to see that the challenges in our relationships are not something to avoid or fight against. They are opportunities for growth. If we can stay present through the changing seasons of love, we allow ourselves to experience the fullness of the journey, both the highs and the lows. This doesn't mean that we don't care about our relationships or that we don't work to nurture them. Quite the opposite. Impermanence teaches us to hold our relationships more gently, without clinging. When we release the need for perfection, we open ourselves to the deep, real connection that exists in every moment, whether it's a moment of joy or a moment of struggle. Let's consider a simple analogy. A river. When you stand at the edge of a river, you see the water flowing continuously, always moving, never staying the same. You can't hold the water in your hands, it's always slipping through your fingers. But if you accept this, you can enjoy the river for what it is, not for what you want it to be. If the water were to stop flowing, the river would become stagnant, lifeless. It's the flow, the movement, that gives it its beauty and power. Our relationships are like that river. They need to flow. If we try to hold them in place, they lose their vitality. If we resist the changes, we create tension. But when we let go, when we allow the flow to happen naturally, we experience the depth and richness of the connection we share with others. This isn't to say that we should accept toxic behavior or let unhealthy patterns persist. Accepting impermanence doesn't mean tolerating disrespect or mistreatment. What it does mean is that we stop trying to force things to stay the same. We let go of the need to control the future and instead focus on being present, right here, right now. When we approach relationships with this mindset, we create space for understanding, patience, and love to grow. We stop holding on to the past or worrying about the future, and instead, we meet each moment with openness. And in doing so, we allow ourselves to experience the full spectrum of human connection, the joy, the pain, the laughter, the tears. All of it is part of the beautiful flow of life. And as we allow relationships to unfold naturally, we begin to see the true meaning of love, not as something to possess or control, but as something to experience, honor, and cherish in each changing moment. Love, like everything else, is impermanent. But in its impermanence, it is all the more precious. So the next time you find yourself in a moment of doubt or difficulty in your relationship, remember the lesson of impermanence. Allow yourself to let go of the need for things to remain the same. Embrace the natural ebb and flow, and trust that the love you share will continue to evolve in beautiful, unexpected ways. In the grand scheme of life, relationships are not meant to be static. They are meant to be living, breathing connections that grow and change with us. And when we embrace this truth, we free ourselves from the pressure of perfection and open ourselves to the infinite possibilities of love. Finding inner peace in relationships. In this busy world, we often find ourselves pulled in every direction: work, family, expectations, and, of course, the relationships that matter most. We try to juggle everything, but eventually, something starts to slip. The weight of stress begins to build, and it feels like no matter how hard we try, we're always on edge. Relationships, which are supposed to bring joy and peace, start feeling like a battleground, full of misunderstandings, impatience, and frustration. But what if, instead of trying to control everything around us, we simply focused on finding peace within ourselves? What if the key to better relationships lies in cultivating inner peace, rather than fixing the external world? In Buddhism, the concept of inner peace is central. It's about creating a calm, balanced state within us that doesn't depend on outside circumstances. When we feel peaceful inside, we are better equipped to handle the challenges that come our way, especially in our relationships. We stop reacting to every little thing and start responding with more patience, kindness, and understanding. But how do we begin to find this inner peace, especially when everything around us seems chaotic? It starts with understanding that we can't always change the world outside of us, but we can change how we interact with it. We can change how we react to difficult situations, how we respond to conflict, and how we show up in our relationships. One of the simplest yet most powerful ways to cultivate inner peace is through mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment, without judgment. It's about noticing our thoughts, feelings, and reactions without getting swept up in them. Instead of getting caught in a cycle of frustration or anxiety when something goes wrong, we pause, take a breath, and simply observe. We give ourselves the space to not react immediately. This pause is incredibly powerful. It allows us to choose how we respond. When we are mindful, we're no longer slaves to our emotions. We stop letting anger or hurt control our actions. We can listen more attentively, speak more calmly, and act with more compassion. We begin to approach our relationships from a place of clarity, rather than reactivity. Another way to find inner peace is through self-care. Often, we forget to take care of ourselves when we're focused on others. We give so much to our relationships, but in the process, we can burn out. Self-care isn't selfish, it's necessary. When we nurture ourselves, we replenish our energy and our ability to be present for others. This can be as simple as taking a walk in nature, practicing meditation, or even just sitting quietly with a cup of tea. Whatever helps you feel grounded and centered, make time for it. Inner peace also comes from acceptance. Relationships are complex. They come with their share of ups and downs. People change, circumstances change, and life keeps moving. When we resist this truth, we create suffering for ourselves. But when we accept that change is inevitable, we stop fighting against it. We learn to flow with life, rather than trying to control it. This doesn't mean we become passive or indifferent. Instead, we become more adaptable, more flexible, and more open to the natural ebb and flow of relationships. Sometimes, when relationships feel hard, it's because we've placed too much pressure on them to make us happy. We believe that if our partner, family, or friends just acted a certain way, everything would be perfect. But this expectation creates a heavy burden, both for us and for the people we love. It's important to remember that no one can be everything to us. No one can meet all of our needs, and no one is perfect. The peace we seek in relationships starts with accepting that perfection doesn't exist. We can't control others, nor should we try to. Instead, we can focus on what we can control, ourselves. By cultivating peace within, we create the space for deeper understanding and connection with others. This is where forgiveness comes in. Forgiveness isn't about letting someone off the hook for their actions. It's about freeing ourselves from the weight of anger, resentment, and hurt. When we hold on to grudges, we carry that negativity with us. It eats away at our peace. But when we forgive, we release that burden. We don't have to forget, but we can choose not to let the past control our present. Let's take a moment to reflect. Think about a relationship that has caused you stress. Maybe it's a family member, a friend, or even a partner. How does it make you feel? Do you find yourself constantly reacting to them, getting frustrated, or feeling misunderstood? Now, imagine if you could approach this relationship from a place of inner peace. How would that change things? How would it feel to respond with calmness instead of reacting with anger or frustration? The beauty of inner peace is that it's contagious. When we find peace within ourselves, we begin to bring that peace into our relationships. We create an environment where others feel safe, heard, and valued. We stop being so defensive and start being more open. We stop blaming and start understanding. And in doing so, we invite others to do the same. Finding inner peace in relationships is not a quick fix. It's a practice, something we work on daily. Some days will be easier than others, and that's okay. The key is to keep coming back to that place of calm, no matter how many times we get swept away. It's about progress, not perfection. So, the next time you find yourself caught up in the whirlwind of relationship challenges, pause. Breathe. Take a moment to check in with yourself. How are you feeling? Are you reacting or responding? Are you seeking peace within? Or are you caught in the chaos? By focusing on our own inner peace, we create the foundation for healthier, more fulfilling relationships. It's not about changing others, it's about changing ourselves. And in doing so, we transform not only our relationships but also our entire experience of life. Inner peace is the gift we give to ourselves, and through that gift, we can give so much more to those we love. It's not a destination but a journey, one step at a time, one breath at a time. And with each step, we move closer to the peace we've been seeking all along. Mindful communication, speaking and listening with intention. In the world we live in, where so many things are happening at once, it's easy to forget the power of a simple conversation. We talk, we listen, but do we truly communicate? Do we truly hear each other? More often than not, we are caught up in our own thoughts, expectations, and judgments, rather than being present in the moment. Communication becomes an exchange of words, but it loses its depth and connection. In relationships, this is one of the most common challenges: communication that doesn't build understanding, but instead builds walls. Imagine you are sitting with a loved one. They're talking, sharing something important to them, but your mind starts to wander. You begin to think about your response before they've even finished speaking. Or, you might be focusing on how their words make you feel, rather than what they're really trying to express. You might even find yourself already planning what you'll say next, or worse, preparing to defend yourself. This is the natural response of the mind, constantly thinking, judging, and reacting. But it's also the reason why misunderstandings grow, conflicts arise, and relationships feel distant. Now, think about a time when you were truly listened to. A time when someone heard not just your words, but the feelings behind them. Maybe you felt calm, understood, and connected. That is the power of mindful communication. It's not about just exchanging words. It's about creating a space for real connection, for understanding, and for peace. In Buddhism, the practice of mindfulness isn't just about sitting in silence. It's about being fully present in every moment of your life, including every conversation. It's about listening without judgment, speaking with clarity, and being aware of the energy that you're bringing into the exchange. When we practice mindful communication, we allow ourselves to slow down. We let go of the urge to react quickly, to interrupt, or to assume we know what the other person is going to say. We give space to the moment, to the silence, and to the feelings that lie beneath the words. Instead of rushing to defend ourselves, we take a deep breath, we listen with full attention, and we respond thoughtfully. This isn't easy. It takes practice, patience, and a willingness to let go of our need to control the conversation. But the rewards are profound. Mindful communication means speaking with intention. Every word that comes from your mouth carries energy. It can either build up the relationship or tear it down. The challenge is to speak with kindness, honesty, and clarity. It's about choosing words that bring understanding, rather than words that fuel anger or confusion. It's about noticing how your words land on the other person and being aware of their feelings, not just your own. When we speak mindfully, we honor the person we are communicating with and create a space where both people can express themselves freely, without fear of judgment or misunderstanding. At the same time, mindful communication also requires us to listen deeply. Listening isn't just about hearing words, it's about hearing the emotions and intentions behind them. Often, the most important part of communication is not what is said, but what is left unsaid. When you listen mindfully, you pay attention to the subtle cues, the body language, the tone of voice, the pauses, the silences. You let the other person express themselves fully before you respond. You resist the urge to interrupt or finish their sentences. You simply listen, with an open heart and an open mind. This type of listening creates a space of trust and respect. It tells the other person, I value you. I care about what you're saying, and I'm here with you, fully. It's a gift. And when both people in a relationship practice mindful listening, the conversation transforms. No longer is it a battle of wills, where each person is waiting for the other to stop talking so they can speak. Instead, it becomes a dance of understanding, where each person feels heard and respected. There are times in relationships when words are not enough, when emotions run high, and we struggle to find the right words to express what we're feeling. During these moments, mindfulness can help. By taking a deep breath, grounding ourselves in the present moment, and simply being with our emotions, we can communicate from a place of calm, rather than fear or anger. We don't need to have all the answers or fix everything in the moment. Sometimes, simply being present with the other person, without judgment or expectation, is enough. That's when real communication happens. When we communicate mindfully, we also open ourselves to growth. We let go of the patterns of communication that no longer serve us, patterns of defensiveness, blame, and criticism. Instead, we embrace vulnerability, honesty, and compassion. This doesn't mean we always agree with the other person, or that we never have difficult conversations. But it does mean that we approach each conversation with the intention of understanding, rather than winning. We learn to express our feelings and needs without attacking or blaming. We learn to listen to our partner's perspective without judgment. And most importantly, we learn to be present, fully and completely, in every conversation. The practice of mindful communication is a lifelong journey. It's not something we perfect overnight. There will be times when we slip into old habits, when we get caught up in our emotions or our need to be heard. But the more we practice mindfulness in our conversations, the more natural it becomes. Slowly, over time, we begin to build relationships that are grounded in understanding, respect, and trust. We create a space where love can flourish, where conflict can be resolved peacefully, and where both people feel seen, heard, and valued. In the end, mindful communication is about more than just improving our relationships. It's about deepening our connection with ourselves. When we practice mindful speaking and listening, we begin to understand ourselves more clearly. We become aware of our own thoughts, emotions, and triggers. We learn to communicate with kindness, not just to others, but to ourselves as well. And when we can speak and listen to ourselves with compassion and understanding, we can do the same with those we love. Ego and expectations, seeing through the illusions. In life, we carry something with us everywhere we go. It's like a shadow, a constant companion that shapes how we see the world, how we interact with others, and even how we experience ourselves. This companion is called the ego. It's not a person, not a thing, but a way of thinking, a sense of I that constantly whispers in our ears, telling us who we are, what we deserve, and what we need from others. The ego likes to be in control. It thrives on attention, validation, and approval. It tells us that we are separate from everyone else, that we must defend our worth, and that we deserve certain things like love, respect, recognition. But the truth is, the ego is an illusion. It's a story we tell ourselves, one that is often disconnected from reality. The ego is built on expectations of how people should treat us, how we should be seen, how we should feel. We expect our partners to understand us perfectly, our friends to support us unconditionally, and our lives to unfold according to our plan. When these expectations aren't met, the ego feels threatened. It becomes defensive, angry, frustrated. This is where the root of many relationship problems lies. The more we cling to these expectations, the more we feed our ego. The more we feed our ego, the more conflict and disappointment we invite into our lives. Why? Because life and love are never as simple as we expect. People don't always act the way we want them to, and situations don't always turn out as we plan. When we hold on to the idea that things should always go our way, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Think about a time when you felt let down in a relationship. Maybe your partner didn't react the way you thought they should. Maybe a friend didn't keep their promise. In those moments, did you feel the rush of anger, resentment, or sadness. That's the ego at work. The ego demands, it expects, and it judges. It refuses to accept that things can be different, that people can make mistakes, and that love is messy and imperfect. Now, let's take a moment to breathe and look deeper. What if, instead of seeing life and love through the lens of our ego, we saw them with eyes of openness and compassion? What if we didn't need everything to go our way? What if we could accept others as they are, flaws and all, without needing them to meet our expectations? This is the power of letting go of the ego's grip. When we let go of the need to control, we begin to experience freedom. We don't tie our happiness to how others behave. We don't base our worth on what others think of us. Instead, we find peace within ourselves, regardless of external circumstances. Letting go of the ego doesn't mean giving up on our relationships or stop caring about others. It means shifting our perspective. It means learning to love others not for what they give us, but for who they are. It means being able to love ourselves without needing constant validation from the outside world. When we stop expecting, we start experiencing. We begin to appreciate the small moments, the quiet gestures of love, the imperfect but genuine attempts at kindness. We start to see our partners, friends, and family not as people who must meet our demands, but as human beings with their own struggles, their own dreams, and their own imperfections. And that's when true connection happens. The Buddha once said, "Attachment is the root of suffering." This doesn't mean we can't care for others or value our relationships. It means that when we cling to our expectations, when we hold on too tightly to how things should be, we create suffering for ourselves. We are attached not only to the idea of love, but also to the idea of how love should look, how love should feel, and how others should show their love. When we begin to see beyond the ego, we begin to see love as it truly is. Love is not about fulfilling a checklist of expectations. It's about accepting the imperfect, unpredictable, and ever-changing nature of life and relationships. Love is about being present, about giving without demanding, about supporting without expecting something in return. In any relationship, whether with a partner, a friend, or a family member, there will be moments when we feel disappointed or frustrated. But these moments don't have to define the relationship. They don't have to lead to conflict or disconnection. Instead of reacting from a place of ego, we can choose to respond with patience, understanding, and compassion. We can choose to let go of our expectations and open ourselves up to the reality of the moment, however it unfolds. It's not easy, of course. Our ego is deeply ingrained, and it takes time and effort to see through its illusions. But every time we let go of an expectation, every time we accept things as they are, we create a little more space for peace and love to grow. The more we practice, the more natural it becomes to approach relationships with an open heart, free from the burdens of ego. In relationships, our ego often leads us to believe that we know what's best for the other person, that we know how they should behave, what they should feel, and what they should do. But the truth is, we don't. We don't control others. We can't make them meet our expectations. And when we try, we only push them away. True love doesn't come from control or manipulation. It comes from freedom, from allowing each person to be who they are, without judgment or demand. Letting go of ego doesn't mean becoming passive or detached from the world around us. It means letting go of the need to control, to judge, or to cling to outcomes. It means embracing the flow of life, trusting that things will unfold as they are meant to. And in doing so, we find that the relationships that once felt strained or difficult become more natural, more harmonious, and more deeply connected. In the end, the ego's expectations are just that, expectations. They are not truths. They are not the reality of our relationships. When we see through the illusions of ego, we see the truth of love, that it is not about what we expect, but about what we give, what we accept, and what we experience in the present moment. And that is the true path to peace, connection, and fulfillment in our relationships. The balance of giving and receiving, generosity in relationships. In the quiet spaces of our hearts, there is an essential truth that many of us forget. Giving and receiving are two sides of the same coin. Think about it for a moment. When you give something, whether it's a smile, your time, or your love, though you also receive something in return. It might not be immediately obvious, but it's there. A sense of connection, a feeling of warmth, a spark of joy. Generosity in relationships isn't just about what we can give to others. It's also about understanding what we need to receive. Often, in our rush to care for others, we forget that we, too, need care. We get lost in the act of giving and lose touch with the act of receiving. But real balance comes when we allow both to flow freely, like a gentle river that never stops moving. It's common in relationships to feel the urge to be the one who gives, to be the caregiver, the strong one, the fixer. But generosity isn't just about offering help or love. It's also about allowing yourself to receive love, support, and care from others. When we shut ourselves off from receiving, we unintentionally cut off the flow of energy between us and the people we care about. We make it harder for others to show their love for us, which can leave us feeling empty or disconnected. But when we open ourselves to both giving and receiving, a wonderful thing happens. We begin to nurture a deeper bond. It's not just about the acts of kindness we perform, but about the space we create for both sides of the relationship to breathe and grow. In Buddhism, this principle is often taught as a balance between generosity, dana, and openness. You might think of generosity as giving to others, but openness is just as important. Openness allows us to accept the love and kindness others offer us. It's a circle. What you give out returns to you. Sometimes, we're hesitant to receive. It might feel uncomfortable or even selfish. But consider this. When you accept love, encouragement, or help from someone else, you're not only enriching your own life, you're enriching theirs, too. The act of giving brings its own joy, and when you allow someone to give to you, you offer them that joy. Relationships thrive on this balance. Imagine a garden. One person plants the seed, the other waters it. The flowers bloom not because one person worked harder than the other, but because both played their part equally. Generosity in relationships isn't about grand gestures or acts that take all your energy. Sometimes, it's in the small things, the thoughtful words, the gentle touch, the listening ear. And, just as importantly, it's in the moments when you allow someone to do the same for you. The act of receiving love or care is just as powerful as offering it. When we receive, we honor the other person's generosity and allow them to feel the joy of giving. And when we give, we honor the connection between us and the other person, creating a space where both of us can feel valued and loved. In Buddhist practice, there is an understanding that we are all interconnected. Our lives, our actions, and our energy are all part of a larger web. Giving and receiving are not isolated acts. They are part of this continuous flow of energy that connects us all. So, when you give, you are participating in something much larger than yourself. And when you receive, you are allowing that energy to flow back into the world. This balance is especially important in romantic relationships. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that love is about always giving to the other person, always being the one who sacrifices. But true love is not about constant giving. It's about sharing in the flow of care and support. It's about knowing that you both have needs and being willing to meet each other halfway. Love becomes richer when both people feel seen, heard, and valued, not just for what they give, but also for what they are willing to receive. This doesn't mean you should wait around for others to give to you before you offer anything in return. Rather, it means understanding that relationships are a partnership. Both people are equally important, and both have something valuable to offer. It's about the exchange, the quiet dance between giving and receiving. And when this balance is maintained, love becomes a living thing, constantly growing and evolving. It's not static, not one-sided. It's dynamic and alive. Many of us fear that if we receive too much, we will somehow become weak or dependent. But generosity is not about weakness. It's about strength. It's about the strength to love fully and to trust that love will come back to us in some form. It's about the strength to allow others to care for us, just as we care for them. There's a great freedom in knowing that we don't have to do everything alone. The most fulfilling relationships are those in which both people are free to give and receive in equal measure, without fear, without pride, and without hesitation. To cultivate this kind of generosity, we must start by being kind to ourselves. We must be willing to give ourselves the care and attention we often give to others. When we give to ourselves, whether through self-care, self-compassion, or simply taking time to rest. We create space for the balance of giving and receiving to flow more easily in our relationships. This isn't about being selfish. It's about honoring your own needs so that you can better honor the needs of others. Ultimately, the balance of giving and receiving is about learning to trust the flow of life, trusting that when we give, we are contributing to something greater than ourselves, and trusting that when we receive, we are allowing life to nourish us so that we can continue to give. It's a gentle, ongoing cycle, one that brings peace to our hearts and harmony to our relationships. As you reflect on your relationships, ask yourself, am I giving too much, leaving myself empty? Am I holding back from receiving, afraid to seem weak? How can I create more balance in my life by both giving and receiving in equal measure? This simple yet profound practice can transform your relationships, creating space for more love, more connection, and more joy. So, take a deep breath and let go of the need to be the one who always gives without receiving. Open your heart to the beauty of this balance. Allow yourself to give freely and also to receive with gratitude. In this balance, relationships can flourish not as a burden, but as a shared experience of love and mutual care. The sacred pause, conflict resolution through mindfulness. There are moments in every relationship when words seem to carry weight far beyond their meaning. Arguments arise unexpectedly, and suddenly, everything feels tense. The things we say in the heat of the moment, the things we don't say, the things left unsaid, they all have the power to build walls between us and the ones we care about. But what if we could change that? What if we could learn to pause, just for a moment, before reacting? In the midst of conflict, our emotions often take over. Anger, frustration, hurt. These emotions arise quickly and feel like an unstoppable force. And in those moments, it's so easy to say things we don't mean, to react impulsively, to let our feelings control the situation. But this is where mindfulness comes in. Mindfulness teaches us to pause. It gives us the space to take a step back, even if it's just for a second, to observe our thoughts, our emotions, and our reactions before we speak. Imagine a situation where you and your partner are having a disagreement. Words are being exchanged, and you feel the tension rising. Everything inside you wants to lash out, to defend yourself, to prove your point. But in that moment, you remember the pause. Instead of reacting immediately, you take a deep breath. You close your eyes for a brief second. You observe the emotions bubbling up inside you, but you don't let them control your actions. You simply acknowledge them. This pause, this brief moment of mindfulness, can change everything. In the past, we may have been taught that conflict is something to be avoided. We might have learned to suppress our feelings or to let the emotions take over, thinking it was the only way to express ourselves. But conflict, when handled mindfully, becomes an opportunity. It's an opportunity to learn about ourselves, to learn about our partner, and to find a deeper connection. It's not about winning or losing, it's about understanding. When you're able to pause, you create space between the stimulus and your reaction. This space allows you to respond, rather than react. Instead of saying something hurtful, you might choose to say, "I'm feeling upset right now, and I need a moment to process." Or perhaps, instead of arguing, you might choose to listen with an open heart, without trying to form a counter-argument while your partner is speaking. The power of the pause lies in its ability to shift the dynamic of the conversation from one of defensiveness to one of understanding. Think about it for a moment. Have you ever been in a heated conversation where your partner is speaking, and instead of listening, you're already thinking about what you're going to say next? This is what happens when we react without pausing. We're not truly listening, we're just waiting for our turn to speak. But mindfulness encourages us to listen fully, to truly hear the words our partner is saying, and to acknowledge the emotions behind them. This doesn't mean you won't feel upset, angry, or hurt. These feelings are natural and human. But mindfulness teaches us that our emotions don't have to dictate our actions. We don't have to give in to the impulse to lash out. Instead, we can choose to approach conflict with awareness, patience, and compassion. In the practice of mindfulness, we also learn to separate the person from the problem. Often, when we argue, we begin to attack the person we are in conflict with. We might say things like, "You always do this," or you never listen. These statements don't solve the problem, they only add fuel to the fire. Mindfulness helps us to see the situation clearly and to address the issue at hand without making it personal. It reminds us that we're not fighting against each other, we're fighting against the problem together. This shift in perspective is incredibly powerful. Instead of feeling like you're on opposite sides of a battlefield, you begin to feel like teammates, working together to find a solution. It's not about being right, it's about being compassionate. It's about finding common ground, even when things are difficult. Now, this doesn't mean that every conflict will be easily resolved with a pause. Some issues require deeper conversations, more time, and more understanding. But even in those moments, the pause can help. It can help to ground you, to prevent you from saying something in the heat of the moment that you'll regret later. It can help to create a space where both people feel safe to express themselves without fear of being attacked or belittled. Mindfulness also teaches us to stay present. Often, in the midst of an argument, we can become overwhelmed by past grievances or future fears. We might think about past mistakes, or we might start worrying about what will happen if we don't resolve the conflict. But mindfulness reminds us to stay in the present moment, to focus on what's happening right now. The past is gone, and the future is uncertain. The only thing we truly have is this moment, and this moment is where true change happens. By staying present, we also begin to see the impermanence of our emotions. When we're caught up in a conflict, it's easy to think that the feelings of anger, frustration, or hurt will last forever. But in reality, emotions are like clouds, they come and go. They may feel intense in the moment, but with time, they will pass. And when we practice mindfulness, we can observe these emotions without becoming attached to them. We can let them rise, and we can let them go. This is the beauty of the pause. It gives us the space to see our emotions as they are, not as the truth, but as temporary states. We don't need to act on every feeling we have. Instead, we can let them pass, and in doing so, we can respond more wisely and more compassionately. Mindfulness and conflict resolution is a practice that requires patience, awareness, and a willingness to change. It's not something that happens overnight, but with time, it can transform the way we approach conflict. It can transform the way we communicate, the way we listen, and the way we love. As you begin to embrace mindfulness in your relationships, you may find that conflicts become less intense. You may notice that you're able to communicate more clearly and listen more openly. You may find that you're able to resolve issues without holding on to grudges or resentment. And most importantly, you may find that your relationships become deeper, more peaceful, and more loving. The sacred pause is a powerful tool. It's a tool that can help you to transform conflict into an opportunity for growth and understanding. It's a tool that can help you to become more mindful, more compassionate, and more present in your relationships. So the next time you feel the heat of an argument rising, remember the pause. Take a breath, observe your emotions, and choose to respond with mindfulness. It's a small step, but it can make all the difference. A path together, spiritual growth through relationships. As we continue our journey through the labyrinth of love and connection, we reach a point where something truly profound begins to unfold. The idea that relationships are not just a space for personal comfort or emotional support, they are spiritual paths. They are places where we can grow, evolve, and transform in ways we never imagined possible. They show us where we still need healing, where we can be more loving, and where our wisdom has yet to bloom. Imagine this. Every relationship, no matter how challenging or smooth, is like a mirror. It reflects our innermost fears, hopes, and desires. It also reflects the places within us where we are still struggling, still stuck, still unaware. And just like any mirror, it's up to us whether we look into it or avoid the image it shows. But if we choose to face it, we can begin to learn. We can begin to see how every person who enters our life is a teacher, whether they bring joy or pain, understanding or confusion. They are all shaping us into something better, more whole, and more at peace with who we are. This idea can be unsettling. It may seem like a heavy responsibility to view our relationships as spiritual tools. After all, when we're hurt, frustrated, or upset, the last thing we might want to think about is how this is all part of our spiritual growth. But this is where the practice of mindfulness, compassion, and non-attachment comes into play. By learning to be present in each moment, without judgment or expectation, we can start to see the lessons behind the experiences. We often get caught up in the surface level of relationships, the misunderstandings, the disagreements, the hurt feelings. But Buddhism teaches us that this is just the surface of a much deeper current of life. Every relationship, no matter how messy it may seem, carries with it an invitation to grow in wisdom and love. The challenge is not to avoid the discomfort, but to move through it with awareness and openness. We are not simply looking for happiness or peace. We are looking to understand our true nature and how we interact with the world around us. Our relationships, then, become the training ground for this profound inner journey. The concept of spiritual growth through relationships also teaches us to soften. Often, we think of spiritual growth as something that happens in solitude, in quiet contemplation, or in meditation retreats. But true growth happens in the presence of others. It happens when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, to be seen in our raw, unguarded state. It happens when we stop trying to control or change the people we love, and instead, begin to accept them as they are. When we let go of the desire for perfection, both in ourselves and in others, we make space for real connection. Consider the concept of interdependence. Buddhism teaches that we are all connected, that our lives are intertwined with the lives of others. In relationships, this is seen most clearly. We are not isolated beings. We are shaped by each person we meet, and in turn, we shape the lives of others. This interconnection isn't just a philosophical idea, it's a lived experience. Our actions, words, and even our thoughts affect those around us. And in turn, the people we love influence our lives in ways that we may not even fully understand. Through this lens, relationships become a sacred practice. They are not just about what we can get, but about what we can give. The love we offer, the kindness we show, the patience we practice, all of these things are what nourish our own souls. And the beauty of this is that when we give, we receive. The love we offer others always returns to us, sometimes in unexpected forms, but always in ways that help us grow. It's important to recognize that growth in relationships isn't always easy. There will be moments of conflict, times of doubt, and periods of feeling disconnected. But these are all part of the process. Just like the seasons change, so too do relationships. Sometimes, the growth is slow, like the steady growth of a tree. Other times, it may feel like a sudden burst of insight or understanding. But whether the growth is slow or fast, visible or hidden, it's always happening. One of the most beautiful aspects of spiritual growth through relationships is that it encourages us to deepen our practice of mindfulness. In the heat of an argument, or in the quiet of a shared moment, we have the opportunity to be fully present, to not react out of anger, fear, or frustration, but to simply observe what is happening within us. What does it feel like to be hurt? What does it feel like to be loved? How do we respond to others, and why? These are the questions that can lead to profound insights if we allow ourselves to truly sit with them. Moreover, spiritual growth and relationships teaches us the art of forgiveness. When we are hurt, it's natural to want to hold on to that hurt, to nurse the wounds, to replay the painful moments over and over in our minds. But Buddhism teaches that forgiveness is not about letting the other person off the hook, it's about freeing ourselves. It's about releasing the grip of resentment and opening up space for healing. When we forgive, we stop carrying the weight of past pain. And in doing so, we create room for deeper, more meaningful connections. As we move through life, we may find that the most transformative relationships are not the easiest ones. They are the ones that challenge us, that push us to grow, to face our own shadows, and to confront our weaknesses. But these relationships, painful as they may be, are the ones that offer the greatest potential for spiritual growth. They are the ones that help us shed old layers, outdated beliefs, and unhealthy patterns. They are the ones that teach us to love more fully and more deeply. In the end, the goal of spiritual growth through relationships is not to find a perfect partner or a perfect situation. It's to find peace within ourselves, to understand our own hearts, and to connect with others in a way that is rooted in love, compassion, and mindfulness. Relationships are not obstacles to spiritual growth. They are the path itself. They offer us the chance to practice every day, to deepen our understanding, and to become more aligned with our true nature. So, when we look at our relationships, whether they are thriving or struggling, we can ask ourselves, what is this relationship teaching me? How is it helping me grow? What can I learn from this person, from this situation, from this moment? In answering these questions with an open heart, we allow our relationships to become a sacred practice, a path to greater wisdom, compassion, and peace. And as we walk this path, hand in hand with others, we begin to realize that we are all on this journey together, learning, growing, and evolving as one. The journey continues, integrating Buddhist wisdom for lifelong love. As we come to the final part of this series, let us take a deep breath together. Inhale slowly, hold, and exhale. You've journeyed with us through the wisdom of Buddhism, exploring how ancient teachings can shape the way we approach relationships today. But remember, this journey does not end here. The insights we've shared are not meant to be just something you hear and forget. They are meant to live within you, to guide you, to transform the way you connect with others, and, more importantly, the way you understand yourself. Imagine you're walking along a peaceful path, the sun setting behind the mountains. Every step you take is calm and deliberate, and with each breath, you feel more grounded, more at peace. This is how life can be, when we practice mindfulness, compassion, and the wisdom of impermanence. The teachings of Buddhism offer us a map, but it's up to us to walk the path. And walking this path is a lifelong journey, not something that's completed in a few weeks or months. True transformation doesn't happen overnight. You may have moments of deep peace and connection, but you'll also have moments of struggle. There will be times when you fall into old habits, when misunderstandings arise, when attachment clouds your heart. This is okay. It's all part of the journey. Buddhism doesn't promise a life free from difficulty. Instead, it teaches us how to respond to these challenges with calm, awareness, and understanding. When we look at our relationships, we often see them as something separate from us. We think, I am here, and the other person is there. But the truth is, relationships are mirrors. They reflect back to us our deepest fears, desires, and patterns. When you experience conflict with someone, whether it's a partner, family member, or friend, it's an opportunity to see yourself more clearly. In those moments, ask yourself, what is this situation teaching me? How can I use this moment to grow? How can I respond with compassion instead of reacting from anger or fear? Buddha once said, you will not be punished for your anger, you will be punished by your anger. These words are powerful because they remind us that our emotional responses are within our control. When we let anger or resentment take over, it doesn't hurt the other person as much as it hurts us. It eats away at our peace, our joy, and our ability to connect with others. This doesn't mean you should suppress your emotions, far from it. Buddhism teaches us to acknowledge our feelings, to feel them fully, but not to let them define us or dictate our actions. In our relationships, we often struggle with expectations. We expect our loved ones to behave in certain ways, to meet certain needs, to love us in specific ways. But the truth is, expectations are a form of attachment. They set us up for disappointment because no one, no matter how much they love us, can meet all of our needs all the time. When we let go of rigid expectations, we open ourselves to greater acceptance and understanding. We learn to love people for who they truly are, not for who we want them to be. Think about the people in your life, the ones who challenge you the most. These are often the relationships that provide the greatest opportunities for growth. When we approach them with mindfulness, we begin to see their humanity, their struggles, their pain. And when we can see the other person as a fellow traveler on this journey of life, we can respond with empathy, not judgment. One of the greatest gifts Buddhism offers in relationships is the ability to practice non-attachment. This doesn't mean we don't care or that we distance ourselves from others. Rather, it means we learn to love without clinging. We love freely, without trying to control or possess the other person. When we let go of attachment, we experience true freedom, not only for ourselves, but for the ones we love. You may ask, how do I begin to practice non-attachment in my relationships? The answer is simple, though not always easy. Start by observing your feelings. Notice when you're feeling possessive, anxious, or fearful. These are often signs that attachment is taking hold. In those moments, take a step back and breathe. Remind yourself that nothing in this world is permanent, including the people we love. The relationships that matter the most to us are like flowers. They need sunlight, care, and space to bloom. And just like flowers, they may fade, but they leave us with beautiful memories and lessons. This acceptance of impermanence is at the heart of Buddhist wisdom. Nothing stays the same forever, not joy, not pain, not love. Relationships evolve, just as we do. When we accept this, we can face life's inevitable changes with grace and peace. As you continue to walk your path, remember that inner peace is the foundation for all healthy relationships. It's easy to get caught up in the chaos of life, to let external circumstances dictate how we feel. But when we cultivate peace within ourselves, through mindfulness, meditation, and self-compassion, we create a space where healthy relationships can grow. We stop reacting out of fear or insecurity and begin responding with love and understanding. This is what Buddhism teaches us, that true peace comes from within, and that by finding peace within ourselves, we can bring peace to our relationships. It's not about changing others or trying to control situations. It's about changing how we see the world and how we choose to respond. And as we bring this series to a close, remember that the work is never truly finished. The teachings of Buddhism are a lifelong practice. You'll find yourself returning to these lessons over and over again as you encounter new challenges, new relationships, and new stages of life. But with each step, you'll grow in wisdom, compassion, and peace. We hope that the wisdom shared here has been helpful to you, and we encourage you to keep exploring, learning, and practicing. Let these teachings become part of your daily life. Let them shape the way you love, the way you connect, and the way you live. And finally, thank you. Thank you for being here, for opening your heart to these teachings, and for walking this path with us. We are all in this together, learning and growing, step by step. Remember, your journey doesn't end here. It's just the beginning.